Clinton, if somebody had said that about either of the Obama daughters, the nation in unison would be repulsed.
Samantha Bee did apologize for her comment and using that word to describe Ivanka Trump. Your reaction?
Yeah, and Roseanne Barr apologized too. She should be fired. She is a vile, disgusting person. It's not even a question of comedy. It's just a matter of what you say about the president's daughter. Who the hell talks this way? Seriously, she should be fired. Take her apology with her.
Mark, let's move on to some pardons that are coming down this week. Dinesh D'Souza gets a pardon. Are you for that?
What Dinesh D'Souza did not warrant 20 months, give or take, in a federal prison. That's not how those cases are normally handled. The radical left-wing Democrat who was U.S. attorney there in the Southern District of New York, Comey's buddy, Mueller's buddy, the buddy of that crowd, went after him. Went after Dinesh D'Souza. And the president looked at this, and the pardon power is in there for a president to intervene if he thinks he should. And he said, you know what? I'm not buying this. I don't like what was done to him, and I'm pardoning him. I'm not going to react to all the left-wing conspiracy kooks out there. They're going to be there no matter what happens. This is why I like this president. He does what he believes in, and he's doing the right thing. They deserved pardons, in my humble opinion, as part of the justice system, what was done to them. Sometimes injustices are actually done to conservatives and Republicans. And in this case, that's the case.
It looks as though back again is Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Trey Gowdy said, if I'm Attorney General Jeff Sessions, I'd probably leave the job because I'm not going to be serving the president well. How do you feel about now, even though it's almost a year later, the Russia investigation goes on and Jeff Sessions still has that job? Where do you stand, Mark?
Well, I've known Jeff Sessions for 30 years. We worked together at the Justice Department. He was U.S. Attorney, I was Chief of Staff, and I like him very, very much. I think he made a terrible mistake here. I agree, if he was going to recuse himself, he probably shouldn't have taken the job. Or if he did recuse himself with he did, he probably should have stepped down. The president has a right to an Attorney General of his choosing. But I would say to Trey Gowdy, maybe you ought to step down a little quicker, too. Your nonsense about this not being a spy, but an informant. And in criminal cases, we call them informants. It's not a criminal case. It's a counterintelligence case. Don't you know the difference? You're a former federal prosecutor. They don't want to call him a spy. And now they're telling us, the Trump campaign was never investigated. Let me suggest that Mr. Gowdy and Mr. Rubio and some of the others go back and listen to the testimony of Mr. Comey himself in March of 2017, in which he said in front of the House Intelligence Committee that, among other things, the Trump campaign is under investigation. What's wrong with these guys? They're handed information about a spy. They should be concerned about these police state tactics, but they never are. Instead, they want to vote to protect Mueller. How about you vote to protect the Constitution? You want to investigate Russia's influence in our elections? Why don't you investigate the Obama administration that turned a blind eye to it, that was in charge when the Russians were interfering with our election, rather than the victims, that is the Trump people.
You just gave me a perfect segue to an excerpt in the New York Times this week of a brand new book that's out by Ben Rhodes, who was a close aide to the president, especially when it came to foreign policy. Evidently, Ben Rhodes got permission to talk about what he was talking about after the election came down. One of the things that President Obama speculated was, maybe I came along 10 years too early. And my assumption is he means the country wasn't ready for him. Do you believe the country wasn't ready for President Obama?
I believe the country's never been ready for President Obama, because when you want to fundamentally transform a country, you know what that means, Brian? That means you don't love your country. You want to fundamentally transform a country. What do you want to do? Fundamentally transform its economy from capitalism to something else? Fundamentally transform its government from a constitutional republic to something else? We've never been able to hold these leftists, and Obama included, to their definition of fundamental transformation. When you love your wife, you don't say, you know what, honey, I want to fundamentally transform you. Or when you love your kids, I want to fundamentally transform you, your kids. That sounds pretty weird to me. So maybe America has never been ready for Barack Obama and should never be ready for Barack Obama.
And he also called this president, when he was a nominee, a cartoon. What's your reaction to President Obama calling President Trump a cartoon?
I'll take a cartoon over a leftist any day of the week. And let me tell you something about this cartoon. This cartoon has stood up to the North Koreans. He has stood up to the Iranians. He stood up to the Chinese. He stood up to the Russians. Nothing Obama was capable of doing. He didn't surveil the Prime Minister of Israel like Obama did, or Jewish groups like Obama did, or members of Congress like Obama did. He hasn't used the IRS against his political opponents like Obama did. He wouldn't have stood still for Benghazi the way Obama did. He wouldn't have undermined the United States military the way Obama did, or undermined local police forces the way Obama did, or stuffed our courts with left-wing law professors the way Obama did. Cartoon character, I don't think we need lectures from Barack Obama, quite frankly.
Mark Levin on his game.